once I knew I wasn't a bad person, I wasn't, because I had lived my life thinking I'm just bad. I spend too much. I eat too much. I yell at my kids. I do all these things. I'm just bad. No, I'm not. Now I know I'm enough. I'm okay. But I wanted other women to feel that. And so I didn't know how. I didn't think, oh, I'm going to be a hypnotherapist. 95% of how we think and feel about ourselves is in our subconscious mind, and our feelings trump our logic. And, so many times clients will say, well, I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I still do it. I must not have any willpower. And knowing it doesn't change it. It's how we feel. We need to go in and dig into that area.
Welcome back to Enthusiastically Spiritual. I'm your host, Teresa. In the energies of today, we can shift things in our life very quickly through accessing deep inner wisdom. My guest today wants everyone to stop looking outside for what they need and instead look inside themselves. She helps her clients step into their true, authentic self, free of self-sabotaging behavior, so they can live a life full of deep meaning and potential. Her name is Christina Woods, and she's a licensed rapid transformational therapist, certified hypnotherapist, empowerment coach, and Reiki master. She combines her background in corporate leadership along with her life experiences in dealing with trauma and abandonment to empower other women to trust their intuition and set themselves free of self-doubt. As the CEO and founder of Wise Woods Hypnotherapy and Coaching, Christina has extensive experience working on complex challenges and pulling potential out of others so that they can become self-reliant individuals. Through this deep hypnotherapy and coaching work, she empowers women to shed old programming so they can live the life they deserve. She's been honing her intuition and spiritual energy practice throughout her entire life, and it is in this experience, knowledge, and wisdom that she brings to every client during each session. Welcome, Christina.
Well, thank you so much, Teresa. I appreciate being here.
Oh, well, I'm so excited you're here too. And I'll tell you, so the first question is always the hardest one. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You have to tell me about being a dancer at Disneyland. What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And I read that. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. I have to hear about that because that it got my enthusiasm like through the roof. I need to know about this, Christina.
I completely forgot I put that on there. Yeah. That's so funny. I went with, I was so shy as a child, and a girlfriend said, take this class with me. And I completely blossomed, and it changed my life. And a girlfriend said, go audition with me. And I said, you're crazy. And then I ended up working there for 2 or 3 years as a dancer. And it's so fun because I had headdresses on, and we did all these shows. And I even danced with a 16-foot python snake. And I think the funniest part is I made $5 an hour. And, this is the 80s. But, it was full of creativity and lots of 80s makeup and purple hair and costumes. And that was such a fun part of my life. And, my kids love to see pictures and can't believe mom was in an 80, leg warmers and purple hair and all that stuff.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay. So here's my backstory. So I grew up in California, and I went to Disneyland all the time. Like, yeah. I was always there. And this was back when they had, the tickets, right? And it wasn't as expensive as it is now. And so they had a call for dancers. Girl, I did not dance. I've never taken dance. We didn't have money to go take dance lessons. But I said, I'm going to go there. So I had me and my courage. I went there. I danced all day. Didn't make it, of course, because, of course, around me were like professional dancers that knew what they were doing. Oh,
it's intimidating. Yeah.
Oh, it's so intimidating. But I was like, gangbusters, I'm doing it. And, of course, I didn't get it. But when I saw that in your bio, I'm like, oh, I just have to ask, because that just totally just brings back the memories, because this obviously was the 80s for me, too.
Yeah, it's my little claim to fame. And you're right. I mean, I hadn't danced very long compared to people that had been dancing since they could walk. So it's a whole little world out there. So
it is, but clearly you had it going. So congratulations on that. That's a good memory to keep there.
It was fun.
So now that was the hardest question, Christina. So now we're good to go. Woo, all over.
Good.
So now let's get down to talking about your journey, because I love to ask my guests about just sharing, the pathway of how you got to where you're at, and what we're off, and then we'll talk about what you're offering in your beautiful services.
Sure, sure. So my journey, I had a 30-year career in corporate before this part of my life. This is definitely a different chapter. And the 30-year corporate career is really because I was trying to find and prove and validate myself. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do what everybody told me to do. And so, I grew up definitely around a lot of trauma. I was very, very sensitive, highly empathic, didn't realize it or know anything about that, of course, as a child, but was feeling a lot of trauma around my family, my mother, and lots of, unfortunate circumstances, to, not her fault. But definitely was dealing with abandonment and not feeling good enough. And what I decided at a young age was, I saw, sort of well, if I don't do this and this and this, but I do this and this and this, I guess this is how I'll be safe and I'll be happy. So, okay, go to college, go get a job, go do this, just forget about all that other stuff. And that was my journey, was bury that other stuff. And that's what I really did. I didn't feel any of that. I put it in a vault and thought, let's go climb the corporate ladder, get married, have kids. And of course, that looked okay in the bank account. And it looked okay to everybody else, until it just didn't. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel good. I started to get health issues. My marriage fell apart. I was so unhappy. And I started to see, of course, I had a spiritual path since I was 18, and I started to know and understand, boy, this is a mirror. What's going on? And I didn't like what I was seeing. And by then I really had to take a deep dive and figure out and put the brakes on. And that is when I decided to completely dive deep and heal and changed my career, changed my life. It's a completely new chapter. So
it sounded like it was one of those midlife things too, because I went through the same thing about 49.
It's about the same age.
Yeah,
it's about the same age.
Like married 29 years, had 2 kids, and they were going to college, and we hear about this with so many people. Like, this is the time where if you've not already been doing that spiritual path, it just comes to your face, and it's like, this is not the life I really want. I'm not happy inside. But like you, I also had it where people didn't recognize, because everything looked fine from the outside, and I had money and I was doing my thing and happy, and no.
Right. And, I had a spiritual moment where I'll never forget. I was in my pajamas in the backyard pulling weeds and, not happy, exhausted, and not happy in my marriage after, almost 25 years, similar story. And I literally heard a voice. And, my husband at the time made a comment, nothing particularly rude or different, but it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I heard a separate voice that said, when are you going to stop looking outside of yourself for your happiness? And I was literally in the bushes in my pajamas. And I was like, wow, I knew right then, you know what, you got to open the vault, honey. And you got to go back deep inside and look inside. What have you been not feeling and seeing? And there are things in there that, you have to heal, and things that aren't even mine, things that I knew I was carrying and holding that I know now, are from many lives and ancestors. And it was time to end it all for generations. And that's what I've done. And, it hasn't been easy. There's been buckets of tears and pain, but so much fulfillment and empowerment and connection to, my higher self and source, which is incredible.
So along your pathway, obviously you do a lot of hypnotherapy, and I want you to explain what RTT is all about, because I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So it's a method of hypnotherapy. It's called Rapid Transformational Therapy, created by Marissa Peer. And she's a very dynamic woman from the UK. And she created it because this idea that healing has to be this long, hard journey of, sitting on the couch every Friday at 3:00 for 10 years talking about it. She created this through 30 years, realizing, once you go into the subconscious, which I truly feel is a window into your soul, into life lessons, and just so many, we can go the whole nother show on that. But, you know, we can, once you go there and you find out what are the beliefs that aren't even true about you, what are the energies that aren't even yours, or what are the things that you had to believe to keep yourself safe, to survive, that you interpreted and perceived a certain way. Once we can go in there and find out, and we can do that very quickly in hypnosis, and you can see it from a different perspective. It's just like if somebody opened a present for you and said, this is what you believe and why, you can go, oh, well, I get that now. Okay. Well, that wasn't true. And, or I needed it then. I don't need it now. And you can begin to put the pieces together, and we can rewire and recode the mind. We know this through science, and hypnotherapy is a beautiful way to do that. So rapid transformational is we get to the root. It isn't about just affirmations and me giving you a $20 recording that says, you know, you're wonderful and beautiful and listen to this. It's literally what is specific to that client, because someone's, you know, reason for having self-doubt or pain is very different and unique to their story and their lives and their soul's journey and their lessons and what do they need to complete. So we find out specific, and I create specific audio recordings, and then I'm a Reiki master, I'm a Theta healer, and we kind of mix it all together to help them heal and rewire and recode in the truth.
So is this did you use this for your own personal healing? Is that how you found hypnosis?
Yeah, I did. You know, I started some therapy on myself, and someone recommended hypnotherapy, and I thought, wow, this is pretty powerful. And I was listening to a meditation by Marissa Peer, and I actually wrote in a journal one day, Marissa Peer is going to change my life. And I packed that journal away actually for about 3 years. And I was going through journals one day, and I knew I wanted to help other women with what I had gone through, because it was so empowering. Once I knew I wasn't a bad person, I wasn't, because I had lived my life thinking I'm just bad. I spend too much. I eat too much. Mm-hmm. I yell at my kids. I do all these things. I'm just bad. No, I'm not. Now I know I'm enough. I'm okay. But I wanted other women to feel that. And so I didn't know how. I didn't think, oh, I'm going to be a hypnotherapist. But I opened my journal one day. I found an old one, and I read that Marissa Peer is going to change my life. And I enrolled that day in this school. But yeah, I did have a hypnotherapy experience. It wasn't even RTT, but it was a knock, like, wow, this subconscious is so powerful, and a very pure way to find out what is the most powerful part of our mind, that subconscious part. It's the iceberg. It's the part underneath. You know, we think we can just logically maneuver our way and logically write a list of how to navigate out of our problems. And everything is, 95% of how we think and feel about ourselves is in our subconscious mind, and our feelings trump our logic. And, so many times clients will say, well, I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I still do it. I must not have any willpower. And knowing it doesn't change it. It's how we feel. We need to go in and dig into that area.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And so I want to go back a little ways when you talked about how, for your own journey, you realized that, this was not just this lifetime, it was ancestral, it was past lives, it's really like that onion, right? A lot of layers combined. So it's so exciting to me that a lot of people here are really at that place of healing multiple layers, and recognizing that we're at a place where, look, this is gangbusters, and we need to remove a lot of this for the upcoming generations, and then the ones after that. So what have you noticed with the depth of where people are being able to go these days through what you offer?
Oh, it's beautiful. I almost feel like the universe brings me so many people that are ending ancestral, the ending the toe of self-loathing and these issues of I have to suffer, and the wounded healers and the people who have so much shame, and so many women who feel like I can't enjoy life, only my children and other people around me. So it's very deep, and many, many times without even realizing or planning or intending, in hypnosis, we go back to past lives and moments. We go even in between lives, and it's interesting when people don't necessarily feel they believe in those things, they happen. And afterwards they say, you know, this is real. And to be able to see and know and sense and see the journey of the same feelings and where it came from and how it's just continuing and continuing, it really allows you to see and feel, wow, this has been something that wasn't just mine, and it's time to end it. And it's very empowering to say, wow, I have the power to end something that women or men or people in my family and my ancestry have been in pain over for generations and lives. And this seems to be a time on this earth where we are ending ancestral, you know, pain. And at least I am finding that the universe is bringing me many, many clients that are ending it and feeling really good and empowered about it. And I know myself, my own journey, that has been this story. So it's amazing.
I think so too. And I think what's also interesting is how, like this, what we went through with COVID and how, you know, it really was like an egg breaking open, right? And like us figuring out all kinds of things, having to come back home to ourselves, to our families, isolation, really going inward is what I kind of looked at it, and all the beautiful gifts that came from that. So what do you feel that people, some of the what I want to say, some of the highlights or the words or that people came out of COVID to come to you to work on? Has it been like a lot of ancestral stuff, or was it other things that people, you know, is there a theme? That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
Theme.
Yeah. You know, there is a theme. The two biggest themes I've seen is that there is a knowing that people have wanting to trust their intuition, and knowing they've sort of lost a sense of their inner compass. And I've lost a sense of just knowing what I should do, knowing what's right and wrong. There's so much noise and so much energy to confuse our inner compass and a sense of knowing. So absolutely, you know, they might come in and say, I have self-doubt, or I don't have enough courage to ask for a raise, or I fight with my spouse. But in the end, the theme is very much that they want to just reawaken a sense of knowingness and who they are, and tapping back into this divine sense of, we know, when we really trust that we know, and we can feel into that just instinctual, guttural, however you know, can feel it. For some, you know, we feel it all differently, but we all have it. And that's a big theme. And boundaries are the other theme I have found is feeling empowered to have boundaries. And I speak a lot with my clients about internal and external boundaries, just the energy of boundaries. And I find, you know, our society says, you know, boundaries are, you have to, you know, say no and kind of be gruff and all these things. But real boundaries are, you don't have to say anything. You just, what are you available for? And what are you not available for? And when you have a sense of self-worth and value, you just find certain vibrations and energy just aren't in your world anymore. And what are you welcoming in your world? And, you know, the energetics of boundaries are beautiful to see and embrace. And when you start to fill up that cup inside, that it's like a pebble, I find that the women and people I work with will say, wow, that person just doesn't treat me like that anymore. Or I'm just not available for that. Or my coworkers or my children and I, or that person calls me out of the blue, or I just don't eat like that anymore. I want to eat and nourish my body. And I go to bed early now. I have these internal boundaries. So.
Wow. Interesting that, well, I think what's interesting about it is how COVID, we went into isolation and we weren't around people, or we were around like close people, right? And then coming out of it, it's like, now we have to get used to people again. Cause I don't know about you, Christina, but my God, I go out and people don't even look in your eyes. They like, it's almost like they have these blinders on.
It's so true.
It's such a weird thing. And it's like, so I guess that's what I'm hearing you say is that, you know, people are now having to recognize the boundaries they have within themselves in relationships and other things they're doing in life, and how to work with that. That seems really
Yeah.
from what I hear you saying.
Yeah, that you're right. That's loss of connection
Mhm.
is real and going on, and I think it's just a metaphor of, did we lose a sense of connection with ourselves too during that whole process? And and we need connection, of course. I think we all learned that, but when you're in this bubble and just sort of going through the motions, and I know about, I don't know about you, but after a while, I felt like, okay, I order Instacart and we're watching Netflix a lot. And, and then to go outside was like an effort. And it's like, who have I become? Like, this isn't who I am. I have to kind of learn how to reconnect with myself and other people. And, that's, how do you do that? But it's an opportunity to revisit how we reconnect with ourselves and with others, and cherish those moments. But it is a time, and I do find that it is a theme where people have to almost it's an exercise to get comfortable with again, because it's being vulnerable.
Absolutely. And taking them to a whole other plateau now. Like, okay, you were
Yeah.
here, now it's time to move up to here. And I know I'm finding that people, they're coming forth and they're really expressing the fact that they're more open now, that they
Yeah,
are more aware, but they don't know, Christine, like what to do with it. And that's where, obviously you and I and other people who are out in
I
the
don't.
community sharing spiritually and, and giving guidance in different ways, that, yeah, how do they work with all these gifts that are coming forward? So how can hypnotherapy share, help them with really tuning into who they are as a soul and understanding the gifts they have?
Well, I think the more you shed your shadows and the things that are blocking the true you, I mean, that's really important to do. That's important work to do. So, there's, you're a divine being, and all of us are, and we all have gifts to share, and we're, these energetic beings. So I think, hypnotherapy and Reiki and theta healing and all these things are ways that I work with the subconscious, and anyone can very fairly quickly. There's work to do, and it just depends on the issue, but it's able to find out what are the shadows, what are the patterns, what are the things we've been doing and believing, and the energy we've been blocking, blocking our truth, and blocking, our true essence, blocking our clairs, perhaps blocking, us from receiving divine love and allowing it to come in, and allowing the gifts of giving. So, and allowing us the power to block and not feel responsible for everybody else's, shadows and emotions. I know that was a big one for me. That was why I became a Reiki master. When I first started hypnotherapy, I started getting really sick and running to the restroom and getting sick, because I didn't know, I thought I knew how to control the energy I was feeling. I'd been studying energy for 20 something years, but it was so much. And I thought, well, I just left my corporate job. Now I can't throw up every time I see someone in hypnotherapy. So I had to, I did Reiki, and I had to learn these things, and I learned the power of the energy, but I had to really clear some shadows. So I think that's important with the subconscious work, is it just allows you in a very pure way, in a gentle way. It's very gentle. I think hypnotherapy scares people because you feel like you might lose control. But you don't. It's a very natural state. And I do want people to know that it's a very gentle, easy process. And we chat the whole time, and you're not going to act like a chicken on stage like you see at the fair. My
Right.
kids.
Oh my God. These people, right?
Yeah, I know. I guess it's fun. My kids even said that when I started doing this. Oh my gosh, Mom, you're like that guy at the fair. But
Right. All these
yeah,
stereotypes we have, and also like what the psychics who are at the, at the, also at the fairs and events, right? Or psychic, 1-800 psychic, like all these things that were out
scams.
there.
And, yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I might have got off track.
No, I think you did. You did definitely. So whenever people go into hypnosis, have they ever also like looked ahead at things that are coming, or have you not is that not where you take people?
We actually, we have gone ahead, and that's really interesting that you say that. So yeah, people have gone ahead, and they can see themselves doing things, feeling things, seeing things. And you know, what's nice, once you open up your subconscious, I find, especially while people are listening to the audio afterwards, you know, messages come through and visions come through in their dreams. They just are completely activated and lit up. I mean, I've gotten a bunch of text messages today from somebody that I just saw, and she's like, wow, in my dream last night, I came in and I defended my inner child, and this came in, and then I saw myself doing this. So dreams about their future self. So future self is definitely something that I will say, let's fast forward and let's visit. And I'm guiding, you know, in your work too. We're the facilitator and we're guiding, and the client is able to tap into that. They're able to tap into what's blocking them, and they're able to tap into who their true essence is. And it's, you know, it's all there. It's all there. So
all you need to do is have the facilitator like you, Christina, who will help and support the person going there. So
yes.
I want to also tap into a little bit of intuition. So I saw on your website that you are really connected with Lee Harris.
Oh, I have been on many Costa Rican trips with him, and many, probably lots of retreats with him. Yes.
That is super awesome. I've been following him for years, and I've done a lot of his online stuff, but I've not gone to any of his events. But when I saw them, like, oh, he's like one of my mentors. Like, he is so amazing.
Yes. He was key in my healing, my spiritual journey, the courage that I had to even, you know, change paths and change my life and feel some of the things that I was so afraid of. I did one-on-one with him for a long time when he did that. You know, Costa Rican, very spiritual moments and tapping into my own intuition. And, you know, it's scary when you tap into your intuition if you're not familiar and comfortable with it, and how to navigate that road, and just talking to people and opening yourself up to a world where it's comfortable, in the language and the words. And that was one thing that I found in my life for a while, was I had this spiritual lane and I had this corporate other lane, and I never allowed them to blend until I decided, wait a second, this is who I am. They're going to blend. And, you know, I can't fight it anymore. And they can blend. You don't have to quit your job and get a divorce. I mean, you can, I have clients that are lawyers and spiritual and all these things. So, you can take any path you want.
Yeah. My husband, who found his spiritual helpers and intuition, gosh, when he was like in his late teens, he was an FBI agent, worked as a consulting, manager. I mean, he's done all kinds of regular jobs and working with his guidance and working with his intuition. So it can go beautifully hand in hand. And that's how we're supposed to be here. I mean, that's to work with it all together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, Lee Harris, just since you mentioned him, is someone who, you know, very early on told me that it's so important in the world to spread the message that, you know, spirituality is something that can be it's important. That's very grounded and very, you know, it's important that it's an everyday conversation for those that resonate with that. And I think it's important to know it doesn't have to be so woo that you think, oh gosh, I like it, but it's so woo, I can't connect. There is a place, if you feel like you want it to be this grounded, you know, real conversation where you can talk about it at the dinner table and not make people get up and leave. So
or what I used to do when I was like opening up, and I would talk to my family, my old family, and they would look at me like deer in headlights, like, what the hell is she talking about? So yeah, I totally get it. Like, and it's what we call, well, my husband and I call it practical spirituality. So it's just it's practical, you know? This is who we are, an energy being in a physical body. How do we work with it?
Right. And, you know, one interesting part of hypnotherapy and this work is that, you know, our body is our subconscious mind. So, and this just kind of came in right now, but I think it's important to mention is that, you know, part of creating a new neural pathway or a new belief or changing the way we believe something is helping our body come on board too, because we're not separate from our body. So our physical body, our spiritual body, our mind, we're all connected. So part of, you know, the journey and what I do is helping your cells come along, and your body and your organs and all of it come along, because our cells have a memory and they're addicted to our emotions. So if your old emotion is, feel safe and stay small and don't use your voice, that's what it's going to keep going back to. So all of it, a whole embodiment of rewiring and recoding and finding out who you are.
Beautiful. So I'd like you to share with the listeners a little bit about how they can connect with you, Christina, and how you would work with them. Do you work Zoom? Do you work in person?
Yeah, I work with clients all over the world, so almost all my work is virtually, and it's energy, so it's just as powerful. And they can reach me through my website, which is wisewoods.com. And I have free things on there. I have a free hypno meditation, which is a great little, I think it's about 30 minutes, called Limitless Mind and Soul. And it's free.wisewoods.com. And there's other things on there as well. So I have a 1 hour also opportunity to chat with me and find out if they want to learn more.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your Disneyland days, dancing days. That was first. That was important. And all that you do, Christina, you're amazing. And thank you so much. I wish you much success in the world with all your clients and all the amazing things you're doing out there.
Oh, thank you, Teresa.
Well, that's the end of another episode. Thanks again for listening in. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate Christina Woods for coming on today and sharing all about hypnosis and RTT and her dancing days at Disneyland. It was so much fun. And I hope that you gather some insights for yourself and maybe check her out on her website. I'll have all the links in the show notes so you can go right to it and check out her free meditation and all that Christina has to offer. So if you've not subscribed, please make sure that you do. Please make sure you hit like and leave a comment. Tell me how you like this episode or other ones you might have listened to. And also, please feel free to share this episode or others with friends and family or someone else you might know that might enjoy this episode. So until next time, please remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey.